Welcome back, people. This is Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. I'm your boy, Mr. Prez, and with me always,
it's your boy Kash, aka Exec P. What's happening, good people?
Man, hey, your sight is not deceiving you, your ears are not deceiving you. You are finally seeing us back on the same page again. It's been a while, but we finally getting this thing back around and getting back to some normalcy. Vacation, I'm guessing it was good for you, Kash?
Oh, beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. It was good to be back in the States. It was good to reconnect with family. Some folks I haven't seen in 20 years since I left for the military. So that was a good thing, man. You know, you never know how much you need it until it occurs. How about you? I know you had some family in the area.
Man, same thing, man. I hadn't seen my sister in like 10 years. I never met her son and stuff like this. So big part of my family. It's times like this, like you realize, like, hey, I'm going through every day, and like military ain't so bad, but you realize like how much you have missed just by the time frame that they're taking you away. And I want to take this time to just like thank anybody who's served or are currently serving, man. Hey, thoughts and prayers go out to you. Stay strong mentally, physically, everything. I know it's a struggle, and it's a struggle you probably don't even realize right now. You'll realize on the back end the stuff that you miss. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure, man. Meeting cousins that are already 18 and you watch them grow up all through social media, which is a blessing, man. But like, it's just so much kids around that just popped up out of nowhere, you know, from your cousins and sisters that you grew up with, and everybody's grown now, and it's a beautiful thing, man. So hopefully you get a chance to do a lot more of the reconnecting and making any trip purposeful. And that's my thing, man. Like, as much as I don't hate going home, it's just that I got a huge family, you know what I'm saying? And when I go home, that's some bread you got to spend to really kick it with family. But at the end of the day, man, that money comes and goes. The time you can't ever get back. So that's one thing I gotta keep on my mind is stop thinking about the how much money and how much I'm gonna take a hit and go spend time with your people. Stop being a cheap ass.
Yeah, because that's what you can't get back, man. That time with family. So, hey, Kash, I think we jumped in a little bit early. Let's go ahead for the new people. I mean, that was a good intro for the people who'd have heard of us and, you know, been messing with us for a while. For the new people out there, tell them who we are and what we do.
Yeah, man, this is Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast, a podcast about music, sports, entertainment, and culture. And by culture, we mean black culture. So that's everything in that hip-hop realm. So, you know, we talk to artists week to week. We'll talk to film producers. We'll talk to entrepreneurs, pretty much people that we value in that space that are doing great thing for our people. So that's what we do each and every week. And, you know, primarily you're going to get this music. You're going to get this sports each and every week. I can tell you that.
Die hard on those. We'll definitely die hard.
Yeah, that'll never leave. That's the staple. That's the staple.
All right, then what episode is this and what we're going to talk about for the day?
Man, we got a lot on the docket, man. We just going to freestyle it this week, man. There's a lot of music that came out last week. I wasn't able to make the pod. You know, you filled in, you talked about some dope albums. I'm going to touch on that, and we probably revisit some of those albums. Also, we got some new music that dropped this week as well. So we got a few artists we're going to get into, Boldy James and Alchemist. And then you also had Benny threw out a quick EP, and he's getting into some stuff on social media and stuff like that. So we're going to get into that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the battle, the Hitman Holla versus Calico. I don't know if you've seen that. But
no, but I will catch it as soon as we off this.
Yeah. Definitely tap into that one. I think that's about it. And then we got some sports, some preseason. Summer League is well underway. NFL preseason is well underway. So I know you got your 13-4. That's what you're going with still? 13-4 for the Raiders.
13-4. Yeah, 13. I'm trying to be reasonable this time.
All right. So yeah, we got some Raiders, Eagles talk, some Summer League stuff that we're looking at, and that's really it, man. We just gonna kick it today.
All right, that's what's up. So episode 121. So let's go on and jump right into it then, Cash. Let's start with where we left off last week. Let's get into this music, man.
For sure,
So
for sure.
I spoke on a couple albums, and I wanted to make sure that you had your time because I really did think like some of those albums were outstanding. So I'd like to get your little review on it. So we'll start off with the Dave East. What did you think of that Dave East with the Hoffa?
Yeah, so initially with Hoffa, man, I got a love-hate relationship with Davies. When he first came out, liked him a lot, like how he was rapping, and then he had a few murky moments where he was up and down, up and down, up and down. I like a few songs here and there, but this one was more the same as far as it was like a letdown for me initially. But this is why you gotta sit with music and not just write it off the first week, because initially I wasn't feeling it, but it's probably whatever else I was listening to, you know what I'm saying? But as I got deeper into the album, and I'm probably saying track 3, track 4 on the album, I don't recall the exact number or what song, but it started to, yeah, East was doing his thing in terms of just flowing, and Harry Fraud had a lot to do with that. Harry Fraud had a lot to do with why I stuck around. So I rock with the album a lot, man. I know you felt like it was very good as far as the production.
It was
and the
very
rapping.
good, man. I gave it a 4 out of 5, and I was saying the same thing about that Harry Fraud, and I just think he got a formula for finding these rappers who don't necessarily fit into that industry mold, even though there was put up on that pedestal initially saying like, hey, this is the next person coming up, but maybe they're not that club person. Maybe they don't have all those little hits to make that super successful type album, but it shouldn't take away from any of their skills and stuff that they have. And I think if you honed in and find the character of that person, and I think that's what I was saying, like, and that's what Harry Fraud seems to do well. It's just like, hey, you're a dope MC, so I'm going to give you where I think you excel at and give you a chance to shine even more. And that will bring you on to the masses instead of hitting the industry formula of just, hey, you got to have club song, got to have woman song, got to have, you know what I mean? Like each one of these little pockets, you got to have hype song. Let's go get, you got to touch down south too. Let's go get Young Thug and throw Young Thug on the song with you. You know what I mean? Stuff like this. Like, nah, just be you. Do own the space that you in. Let's get you real comfortable right in this space before we try to even dance in any other pockets. You know what I mean?
For sure. I know exactly what you mean. And like I said, man, we'll get into the Hit Boy and the Alchemist produced albums a little bit later. But like you said, man, Dave East to me seemed like he was trying to do that for a long time, where he was trying to chase that certain record instead of having a record. Like when you talk about this project and his discography, it'll always be easily recognizable. You'll easily be like, oh, I like this song off of this project because of how strong the project is overall. There's no club songs on here. There's no hype songs. It's just dope music throughout. And I think at this point in time, a lot of artists, even, you want more established artists to do this too. Like, I mean, we just had the verses, right? Locks versus Dipset. Jada Kiss is a prime example to where, in my opinion, Jada has classic verses, but doesn't have a classic album. That's my opinion. That may be public opinion. I don't know. But in my opinion, that's how I feel. He has very solid albums. He doesn't have a whack album. He probably has a lot of 4 mics, 3.5s. That's really good. But those projects, you remember, Kiss the Game Goodbye. You can name several songs off there that were fire. Not Kiss of Death. Even back to the most current one, Ignatius. Yeah. Top 5. Like you can name songs off of there to where when you go back to it, you like, this is a solid body of work. And I think that's what will happen with Dave East as he continues to do these type of projects with one producer, one sound. Because, I mean, for me, that's my preference anyway.
Yeah. Are you saying Jada Kiss is overdue for something like this too? And who would you like to see him teamed up with if that was the case?
Damn, that's a good question, man. I would like him to go back to some of the guys in our era, some of my favorite producers. I don't know how well he would mesh with definitely it wouldn't be Kanye West, because I wouldn't want Kanye to mess that up as far as just what he did to Nas. I can't forgive him for that. So I probably would say like Just Blaze, if we could find Just Blaze and get him out the dungeon. Bink, he's from Virginia. He did a lot of stuff for state property and Rockefeller back in the day. So I would probably pit him with them. I wouldn't want the Alchemist stuff or whatever. Although
I think you hit it right on.
You know what I mean?
Probably be the best one. That's what I was thinking of.
Right, because he would give him those big songs that Jada tends to chase, because he's more of a mainstream artist with his albums, and his albums sound big. They don't sound gritty and none of that. You know what I'm saying? So I would think Bink would work, because he can give him the good industry sound that Jada tends to do, but not necessarily not give him that street shit that we love Jada for. So I think he would give us a good balanced album if he did something with Bink. So I would pick Bink.
Okay. So moving on to the next one, the Isaiah Rashad. What was your thoughts? Did you even listen yet?
Oh yeah, I heard them all, man. I had, like I said, I was off for a whole month just chilling. So I had plenty of time to work out, to ride around, listen to music in various settings rather. So with Isaiah Rashad, I would say, man, I'm not the hugest fan of him, just because he's not whack. I'm just not the hugest fan. I'm not gonna like everybody, but I do respect his pen, and I respect what he does, especially being on a crowded TDE roster, to separate himself out, because he does have a lot of critical acclaim and fanfare. But with that said, this album was right up my alley in terms of easy listening. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't difficult to listen. And if you know his backstory and things that he'd been through with the drugs, with addiction, depression, I believe some of those things in the Vanity article that he was in, and then an interview that he did. So, I'm tapped in with the behind the scenes stuff, because I have no choice with our partner in crime, Iggy, on Iggy's Loudmouth podcast. He gonna make sure you see all the promo for for my man Isaiah Rashad. So, the album sounded fun, but to me, he traded in fun. He traded in lyricism for fun. A more upbeat project, a more melodic project, in my opinion. I think if you were never an Isaiah Rashad fan, you could be like, yo, go listen to this cat right here. And most people, casual listeners, even down to the hip hop, boom bap people, I think they would like this. I think they would like this project. It would be a good introductory piece to anybody who hasn't heard them. So it's solid overall. If I had to give it a Source 5 mic rating, or you know what I mean, it'd probably be 3.5, possible 4 overtime. But this is definitely one of the strongest projects to come out so far this year. I don't know where I rack and stack it right now, but it's a strong project.
Yeah. I gave it a 3. I'm surprised by your answer on it, though. I didn't think that you was gonna feel it as much, because it was so much more melodic, like, and it's like a lot more tunes and mumbly than he had been on the Sun's Tirade, and that's kind of where I appreciated Sun's Tirade a little bit more. So I don't know if that's, well, I do know. I guess that was his step away a little bit from this type of sound that he had initially. So, but I thought that was the elevation. I thought that was the next step that he was taking in his route. I didn't think it was going to backtrack. So some people are going to be happy that he backtracked. Some people are going to be a little upset that he kind of did. So whichever one you fall into that little pocket on, if you've been a fan of it that long. So
yeah, especially when you talk about, like, he come off on the album like very, the second song, Bussin'. What is it called? The second song on the album with Lil Uzi Vert. So that song came out bussin'. Like that joint.
Yeah.
And then the video song is up tempo. For me, I could play that anywhere. You know what I'm saying? I could play that
From the garden.
from the garden. Yeah. So that joint I could play anywhere. That's definitely gym music. That's definitely when I don't want to be in that, super rapper mode and lyric driven rap. But he's having fun, man. And at a certain point, man, I feel like we gotta allow some of these artists to do albums like this to where they bring in new fans, because you're gonna come back the next album 5 years from now or however long it takes for Zay to drop. But we'll be back around because we respect what he does overall. So I'm not mad at him for going in this direction because it brings in people like me.
Yeah. Okay. Tracking. And now for the big one that was out that week, that came seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, they had like a week or so ahead of time that they started telling people that he was about to drop the Nas.
Oh, I love everything about this. Love everything about this Nas King's Disease. How they came out just a few days after Yeezy announced when he was going to drop that Friday initially after the multiple pushbacks. But yeah, I like how confident they were with it and coming back damn near a year to when part 1 came out. And I started listening to this thing the moment it came out, midnight. I was on it listening and I was like, I didn't think this could be better than the first one. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like they got in their bag and they got even more comfortable with each other and what they wanted to do. And I think they balanced it out well. You know what I'm saying? You got songs like YKTV, on part 1, you had the one with Fabio Foreign. I didn't know how that was going to sound. But then it ended up sounding really good when I heard it on live. And same thing, A Boogie with the Hoodie. I'm not sure how Nas and A Boogie with the Hoodie gonna sound. And I like A Boogie with the Hoodie outside of this. You know what I mean? Like, huge fan of his stuff. So it's just like little things like that. Then to have Charlie Wilson, Lauryn Hill, which that's one of my Nobody is one of my go-tos. This album is just phenomenal from start to finish. I like how Hit Boy didn't overproduce Nas. You know what I mean? They just found a good little pocket, you know what I mean? And that little 3-store run with store run moments and Nobody.
Charlie with the song No Phony, like Charlie Wilson right after that too. Like that it was you saying 3, I want to say 4.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you got Charlie Wilson doing this thing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, he was in such a zone, and like I was feeling those stories rather that he was saying. Even the Death Row East, that was a dope one. You know what I mean? I like everything about it, man. I like everything about this project. Nas is good. It's one of my songs that I probably play religiously since it's come out. You know what I mean?
That was like my top one out of here. I was just like, hey, because I kind of feel like that at moments in my life, and like that's always like, definitely it. But wanted to say, like, I called it an instant classic. Are you willing to jump out and say the same thing, or are you saying like give it a little bit more time? And then one other thing I got for you, I talked about like when DJ Khaled had that song on there and the album's done. Nas came out with the album's done. Then he did that and I think it was the album that came out was the Kanye album, the Nasir, the 7 song that was it was okay. It wasn't as great as it was held to be. But that energy that he had on that DJ Khaled the album's done was amazing. It was great promo stepping up to that album. I'm saying that if you take that promo and throw it in front of this and like ease into this album, like that seems like it fits a lot more than that other album that's got. And would you agree on that? So
yeah, I think the energy that he had on that song in particular that you're talking about on the Khaled album, I think it was like 1 or 2 Khaled albums ago. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you that energy, if that would have been transitioned into this type of album, man, that would have been even another dope project for Nas's legacy. But, the Kanye one wasn't trash, but it wasn't great. either. It was just like, okay, Nas gave us something. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
in terms of instant classic, I would say, man, it's instantly in my rotation. I won't say classic, but there hasn't been a day since it came out that I haven't listened to several songs off of it. There hasn't been a day yet. You know what I mean? So that's when I know when I'm listening to it at my leisure for fun, because we listen to a lot of these things to prepare, to do these pods and to be well informed with our initial reviews on it. But I'm gonna be able to shoot from the hip on this one as we go into our end of year wrap up in December. Like I know this will be firmly in a rotation with other legends that may pop out. You know what I mean? But I don't know if they're going to have such a great sound with whoever they decide to do a project with. You know what I mean? We still got the Ye, still got the Drake coming. You know what I mean? But this is my lane. This is my era.
Holding the game hostage for over half a year, Cash. He's been holding the game hostage.
Who, Ye? Oh, Drake?
No, Drake. He said at the top of the year he was having the album done, man. Like, come on, man. Gave us a 3-pack, and then now here it is. We sitting in August, and it's probably going to come in December time frame. Like, that's the ultimate letdown, but I know I'll be good with the album when it does come out. But I mean, like, as far as this year for albums that we've been getting, I think we had a list of saying stuff that we was looking forward to and people that we wanted to come out. I think everybody's starting to knock that out, and we getting surprises out there. I mean, you done had the J. Cole, you had Tyler, you had Isaiah, you got Kendrick that's got to be coming out sometime, right? He got to have something cooking, right?
I would hope so. Definitely hope Kendrick comes. Or Schoolboy Q or J Rock, anybody out of TDE will be a welcome surprise. Solo, you know what I mean? Absol, like either one of those guys, because they all haven't dropped in at least 2 years. You know what I'm saying? None of them dropped during 2020, to my recollection. In 2019, I think Reason probably dropped in 2020.
Yeah, Reason dropped in 2020.
Yeah. And that's a solid body of work, but I don't think anybody else from TDE dropped during when everything was shut down. So 19 I may have to go back and check that out and see who dropped. But yeah, so those 4 cats are due, man. If it's not Kendrick, I'm not even bothered with the Kendrick and Drake and how they hold out to perfect it anymore, man. Like it's too many dope artists to really
worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're not my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. Like, when they drop, it's welcomed. It's welcomed. But they're not, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how to explain it. I don't get hyped when they're about to drop.
Now, on the spot, put you on the spot real quick. Give me your top 3 that you are getting hyped about and that you do have that elation, like anytime you're hearing about they gonna drop. Who are the top 3? And I want to hear no excuses, just 3 people. Name them off the top of your head. Let's go.
Right now, if they're about to drop, I'm getting hype about. Definitely gonna be Freddie Gibbs. If Freddie Gibbs say he about to drop something, I'm hype about that. Benny, when it's not a throwaway project, which we'll get to later on in the pod. And then I'll probably say at third, man, Reliable, man. Anytime Hov drops something, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So
yeah, man. So it seems like Nas with me, like every time I clear out a little space, even though the King Disease, I know the original King Disease, I didn't want to give it his accolades and stuff initially, but that was just because I think I got bombarded before I actually got to listen to the album with everybody telling me that it was like immaculate. Like this last one, this King Disease 2, I think was immaculate. Like that King Disease 1, if you had to compare those two, I'm putting 2 above 1, and that's how I'm coming off. Like, I'm okay with grading something that's saying that it's that King Disease 1 it'd be a 4 on my books out of 5. You know what I mean?
Easy.
And this one would be a perfect 5 out of 5.
I'm right there with you. That's right there with you.
So that's where I was like on King Disease. But yeah, definitely Nas on there. J. Cole has gotten that way, and then to round it out would be anything Wale, which I think he's warming up to actually throw out something. So
let's go off on that for a second. Do you think that Wale's chasing a hit?
No, I think he's actually finally like comfortable in his space, and he's just making music, good music, and happy in that space right now.
So
I
he's in
don't
a
think
happy music making.
yeah. And I kind of, well, that's kind of, I'm kind of taking his music and feeling off his music. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more, totally different vibe from all the other ones, and it just seems like somebody who's just like, man, I spent all this time chasing the fans, the industry, whatever. I'm just gonna be me, be happy, you know, and make some good music out here. You either like it or you don't. Take it how you want it, you know.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of these joints, like just stuff that dropped this year. Good vibes. All I want is good vibes. I like that. Angels with Chris Brown, the remake of I Need a Girl, right?
Yeah,
And then Down South, you know, tipping on fofos. I think that's the beat, right? Yeah. So those are all four. I mean, all three of those are dope to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not mad at that at all.
and even if you look at what he was doing last year, what was the name of it? Something Storm,
It's called The Imperfect Storm.
Yeah, the Imperfect Storm. So I felt like that was like totally different. It was more capturing what was going on in that moment. He came out with a couple tracks that was more what I love about Wale when he gets into his sports and stuff like this. And he had those sports type songs, or he had Lions, Bears, and something. I forget like what the name of the song was, but where he was rhyming about your Chicago Bears, Lions, and like had a couple football teams and stuff mixed up in there. He does all that extremely well to me, and I enjoy those takes on it because he seems to go in depth. If you remember 11-1-11, like all that, like how he had the sports intertwined with that one, that mixtape, it's just great. I think he just does those outstanding. I know everybody is not a Wale fan, but hey, for me, yeah, he always, you know, hits all that. And then what was that? Which one? Salvation. Which one album was that one? Give me a second.
The Gifted.
The Gifted. That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, that one was that. That's a perfect album to me, in my opinion. That's like his. I ain't gonna say it's his top. I still got other ones. I still like the album about nothing. I still like his first Attention Deficit. But Gifted is up there. You know, which I'm just a Wale fan, so I like majority of all his music. But Gifted is definitely up there for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Wale, man. I think that he's very dope and misunderstood. I seem like I understand the passion behind it. As far as there's not a lot of guys that have a better body of work when you really look at it in terms of mixtapes and actual albums he's put out for consumption. So, man, he's fire, man. But I think that you think that he's at a point to where he could drop whatever he wants and not necessarily do the Down Souths or the Angels, or do you feel like he has to have one of those hits, which he's well adapt to make a hit? Like Wale come with a hit no matter what. You know what I mean? At this point. So you think that he could do something like that, Imperfect Storm, and that be a 10-track joint with a Harry Fraud or whatever, producer? Do you think he has that wiggle room to do that, or does he have to still make the standard tradition, albums?
So I don't. This is where I wouldn't think the Harry Fraud will work for somebody like this.
Well, not Harry Fraud, but
I'm just saying that producer. Yeah, one producer, like just narrowing down the sound, because I think he works well just going in each one of those. Like he's more of a industry type person where he can actually make good songs in all those little subsets. You know what I mean? Like he can have a club song, he can have a woman song, he can have like the in-depth song. I'm just rhyming. I'm gonna just kill you on this right here. He got all that. Where now somebody may say, "Oh, but this person does it better than them," and that person that's all they do is like the club music. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
He's a complete artist.
But
he's a complete artist.
Like as somebody, like you're gonna have a good time listening at this album. Like that's kind of how I feel with Wale. It's he's up there with the rare ones, like that can do that. You know what I mean? That not everybody sounds great on everything, and he's one of those that's just like put him anywhere. He kind of finds his way.
I feel you. Let's stay with the Harry Fraud and the producers and stuff like that. Like, so more recently, I was talking to one of my homeboys, and shout out to my man Russ for this question that put this out there. And I was like, yeah, we definitely gonna talk about this because I think we've been talking about it behind the scenes. Like, his question was who's having a better run, Harry Fraud or Hit Boy? You know what I mean? But I wanted to take it from just a better run in terms of like, and I want to add Alchemist as well. Like, do you feel like this one producer, one rapper thing by these three guys, like who's doing it better?
Man, that's kind of hard. Alchemist has got some of those established artists that we knew that was out there that could really do it, but never got their moment in the past. You know what I mean? They, like I said, like, and he's been able to bring those people out. Now, Harry Fraud done found these people that's just like, bro, these people were slept on, put away. You know what I mean? Even in those circles where you saying like the people that Hit Boy been getting, like these wouldn't even be touched. We would let these people just go out and just saying like, man, he did have that one song. You know what I mean? He's been finding those type of artists and bringing them up, elevating them, and that's what's great. Like I'm saying, the Jim Jones and everything. Like, would have never thought of it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to give people just some reference points as I just like, because as we're talking about it as far as Alchemist goes, because I'm not sure, just depending on who watches, I just want them to know like just the body of works that we're talking about in the last few years. So you got the more recent one with Boldy James, Bo Jackson, which we'll get into how we feel about that one. Then you got the Alchemist project, Alfredo, with Freddie Gibbs, that was super duper fire. You got Lulu with Conway the Machine. Then you had the Price of Tea in China with Boldy James. Action Bronson had one with him. Currency and Freddie Gibbs had one that was super fire, that Fetty one. And Currency had another one with him, Jay Worthy. So those are just the ones in the last 3 years, you know. And then you, of course, you have Hit Boy with the two Nas King's Disease projects, and you have the Benny the Butcher project that he did, which those three is, for me, it's hard to top when you're talking about just those three, because you talking about at least 4 mics or better for each project. You know what I mean? And those are all well known projects when you're talking about the Hit Boy run that he's on. And then Harry Fraud, you know, Jim Jones at least twice. And then you got Harry Fraud did something with Currency as well. You know what I mean? And with more recent, the Hoffa with Dave East. And I'm missing somebody. Oh, Benny. He did one with Benny as well. You know what I mean? So, like, these guys are actually killing it. You know what I mean? He did Down South with Wale.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, man. Like, so I can't really choose. You know what I mean? Because personally, for me, what I like in the artist that I like the most, I'll choose. I'll probably say for me and what I like is Harry Fraud. But that's my personal opinion. But if I had to look from an objective point of view and just what the consensus would be, which would be hard to argue, is Hit Boy with them three albums I mentioned is just killer, bro. It's hard.
I think you appreciate Harry Fraud a little bit more just because of the person that he always teaming up with majority of the time and always have featured on the projects, and that'll be Currency. You being a diehard like Currency fan, like
Currency, Jim Jones, like look at all
Larry
the people, Larry June, that he's lifting up that I previously may not have. I don't listen to all Currency's projects. He drops too much, way too much. I'm just. I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I'm just saying, I gotta keep it a buck.
Thank you for finally admitting that and understanding where I be coming from.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I'm a fan of Currency, and I don't listen to every single thing that he drops. But you got that La Musica, the Harry Fraud right behind it. I'm here. I'm here. I'm signed up. If it was Hit Boy, I'll be signed up, to listen to it. But it's just certain producers that he works with, man. But yeah, I think Harry Fraud just lifts the guys that aren't necessarily everybody's favorite, and those projects be hard to deal with at the end of the day for me.
It's hard to deny hey, these guys are, they got some skill, and we kind of been sleeping on them. Sleeping. After you hearing those, after you hear these projects, that's what I said. He kind of brings to it. So yeah.
Do we have something with Freddie? I don't know if Harry Fraud got something with Freddie Gibbs. I might be tripping.
I don't remember nothing.
But I would love to see that. I would love to see that happen next, possibly. You know what I mean? So yeah. But who would you pick?
Who would I pick?
Yeah.
Hit Boy.
You got to name somebody. I thought you was going to pussyfoot around hit right out the gate. Hit Boy.
Because hey man, he working with the elite ones, and he get them to when you working with the elites who already got something kind of established, and then you still get them to step it up a notch. Bruh, hats off to you. Bring something stronger, some more energy into what they're doing, bro. That's unique. That's unique, and I mean, can you imagine? I don't take it to a sport, working with a LeBron James who's already at his prime, but then demanding even more out of him. That's kind of how I feel these Hit Boy projects actually do. All right, I see your chips. They nice, but what can you give me today?
Right. It's just Mike and Kobe before they got with Phil. They were already great, but they tapped into something else with those guys' psyche and their talent and took it to new heights. And you I ain't even know this mofo can get better. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I feel you on that. But, Alchemist, is third, but that's just saying so much in how good of a quality of all these projects that we just listed are. You know what I mean? So I highly encourage you guys to go back to some of the projects from these last three producers, and also tell us a little bit about other things that they may have done that we ain't even mentioned. You know what I'm saying? Because I love all three of their production, and like I said, man, I'm just a fan of the one rapper, one producer thing, especially when it's done on a high level like these guys are doing. And like you mentioned, Prez, pushing dope artists to find new ceilings.
And let me get this straight, because I know we're going to have comments and stuff. Oh, this artist has worked with that producer. Yeah, we understand that. I'm talking about when they actually put together a full product together as just with that one artist. Which one are we talking about? I know Nas and did stuff with Alchemist. I know we understand all that.
Right.
Gibbs got stuff with Alchemist. We understand that. We saying which one of them is really pushing it even further out of that. And that's where I was going on the Hit Boy. Comment's still gonna come. I'm still gonna have to defend that statement, but there you go.
Because Hit Boy, like I said, it's difficult. It's difficult because when you talk about the joint he did with Benny and winning a Grammy with Nas, Benny arguably had the album of the year last year, and I think all three of us, me, you, and Iggy, on our end of year wrap up, I think we all had Benny as the best album to come out in 2020, and that was Hit Boy produced. And then King's Disease won a Grammy. Not saying a Grammy is the end all be all, but it was still a strong project. Very strong project. So you had two of the best projects come out in almost a month or two apart?
Yeah. That's something to think about. Yeah.
Something else, man.
But all right, then, man, are we going to get into the projects? Man, we've been talking forever on this music, man.
Hey, man, it's been a while, man.
Love this episode, man.
We haven't had a chance. Life been getting the best of us, man. We haven't had a chance just to shoot the shit and talk about it. So, we'll give them the timestamps. Let them get to what they want to get through. That's what we do. But yeah, man, let's get to the joints that dropped this week.
All right. So we got. Do you want to start with the Benny, or you want to start with the Boldy?
Let's start with Benny. So first off, I didn't know this was coming out. I didn't know this
idea.
was coming out at all. It was a surprise, and I'm like, oh, I'm going right to it. And I'm like, well, why hasn't Benny really promoted this? Why hasn't he said it's coming out and all that? And it wasn't until like several hours later after it dropped, he basically said, this is something that I did 3 years ago. You know, y'all enjoy it. And I'm paraphrasing here, but basically, Prez, he made it seem like it was a throwaway. And I haven't heard a lot of good things from other people about this project yet. But as for me, I'm still getting into it. It's one of those where it's good, typical Benny for me. But nothing. You know how I feel about. Yeah, you know how if it was dope, I probably would have hit your line about it. Yo, you need to stop what you're doing, find some time in your day, listen to this shit because this shit is fire. This just wasn't it for me.
I don't care if you're at work. Leave your fucking meeting. Go listen to this.
Yeah, you know how I get. You better circle the block before you come home, man. Listen to that shit. Let it ride, man. Take the long way home. Hit all the red lights. You know. But yeah, man. What's the name? The name of this? Hold on,
Pyrex Picasso.
Yep. So Pyrex Picasso.
It's seven songs. So I'm not too disappointed in like what I got, man. But like, yeah, it wasn't nothing to like jump up and like say, hey, this is the best, this is the top project. Especially after like timing of music plays a factor to it when you get something. It's hard to come off that Nas and then go to this. You know what I mean? And I was in the mode, man. I'm in the zone. I was expecting nothing but like great, and it's like when they talk about it back in the day, like when, hey, I gotta go on stage after him. Like that's kind of how this felt. Like,
yeah, I can't go from King's Disease 2 and listening to Moments and Store Run and something that was so, handcrafted for us to listen to, and then for you to just put this out, and then on the heels of that. So my second point is, everybody that's listening, this could start being bad for Benny because Trust the Sopranos, that was some mid, and then now this, and then you coming on your social media saying essentially it was just something you put out, you made a couple years ago, and whoever he made it with, he's probably doing a good solid for the producer because there's one producer on here, and I want to name him as we go through it in the credits. It's called Chop LaRock and Rare Skrilla. Want to put that out there because they did a good job on it. You know what I mean? I just think that it wasn't the best representation of where Benny's at now. You know what I mean? So this was just like some typical Coke raps, and you could tell when it's just something that you
could tell it was dated. It was dated material.
Invested in.
And then like that's a good thing. When you talk about stuff that just stands the test of time or that's just great rhymes, you can never date it accordingly. Like it still sounds good and it's still relevant even to. So for us to hear this and that we can tell that it's dated, it's a reason why it was like that throwaway or that he held on to it for so long. You kind of feel like this wasn't something that I'm holding on to. I'm waiting to put it out at the right opportune time. It wasn't his best work, and I kind of feel like he kind of knows that too.
Right, and that's why I think that he's lashing out on social media. So I know you're not on social media, and Iggy brought this to my attention, but I just posted something that he was talking about nerd internet dudes or whatever the case may be. Listen, Benny, I'm that nerd internet dude that likes to listen to your music and like street music that comes from the same thing you come from. So don't, cut your nose to spite your face because a lot of the nerds actually buy your music. You have to be able to take constructive criticism when you put out 2 back-to-back average ass projects with your name on it. And in my opinion, leave it on the cutting room floor if it's something that you're going to leave on the cutting room floor. You know what I mean? But when you get bad reception from the projects, you can't lash out because we've given you praise for the last 4 years. It seemed like everything you've touched and your team has touched has been gold for the most part. But you had all of them had some missteps in terms of projects, and I get it. You got to put out a consistent amount of stuff, but in my opinion, this is something that is gonna come and go.
Yeah, I mean, if you dilute the product, like, you can't get mad at people just feeling like, just trailing off a little bit. Like it's not what I'm used to.
Put this in terms,
just like just like you came up on your little point where everything was getting stale and recycled. We don't want your music to get in that same little rut. You know what I mean? So hey, tell you, step back up your game, get your pen, lock in where you need to lock in before that next person comes up and steals the spot, steals the shine the same type of way. I know I wouldn't be happy just ending on a short run or short little stint. Like, you want these people to last. You want them to have the Nas type careers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll put it in a term that Benny can understand. Don't step on the product. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't stretch it out because soon enough, the fiends, the listeners, we may not get as high off your material. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what you're saying, Prez. It's just like, but on the flip side, I'll give another perspective and shout out to Iggy again. He said something in our group chat about it that it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you got the Isaiah Rashads of the world that drop every 4 to 5 years. And then you have the currencies that drop every other month. You know what I'm saying? So what's the right balance? Because some people say currency dropped too much. Some people say Isaiah Rashad, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Kanye don't drop enough. So what's the right balance? Are we just never going to be satisfied?
We are never going to be satisfied. But you got to find that balance on, if currency puts out 4-5 of these things in a year, right? One of those got to be fire to keep everybody like, okay, well, at least once a year he gives us something that's great, so I can keep listening at it. You know what I mean? And if you're the Isaiah Rashads and stuff like this, and you coming out every 4 years, there's no wiggle room. Like, whatever you coming out with got to be like straight, because we ain't gonna hear from you in a while. So that's kind of. But the thing that's linking all these together is you got to have those wins up in there. You got to have those wins, and if you scratch them out too far in between, you kind of lose the people at that point. And so if you're, like I said, too far in between, so if you're the 3-year, 4-year dropper, every project has to be that one. You know what I mean? But if you're the one that's every year, 2 to 3 times a year, one got to be fire. So the next 2 could be, okay, just keep everybody on the hook. So if we talking about Benny in this manner, he gave us 1. Last 2 been, all right, cool. Whatever you put out next just got to be fire, man. It has to be.
I feel you on that. I think, you said it. I couldn't put it no better myself. Like, you can't have that many F-ups in between. You put out something very dope with Harry Fraud at the top of the year. So, you know what I mean? Like these throwaways are unnecessary to the catalog. And if you do too many of them, then you may start to get a lot of the critique and like, I don't think Benny's falling off by no means. He's doing a lot of great things. He had the NBA commercial on the draft, and he started late in his career. So, anyway,
no. I just want to throw one part on that. It was just like, if you constantly do this, I don't care that it came out 3 years ago, that you did it 3 years ago.
Don't matter to me.
First time I'm hearing it is now. So I can only grade you on like what you dropped now. Like I ain't got nothing else. Like, you can't tell me this was 3 years ago. It wasn't put out 3 years ago. It was put out now. So when I listen to it, this is what I get. So if you didn't want to get your damn time machine, go back and drop it when it was supposed to drop. Other than that, shit came out this year, in my opinion. This is your latest bodies of work.
Leave it at that, brother. Leave it at that. So next up, we got Boldy James, Bo Jackson. Take it away, Prez. How you feel about this new Boldy and Alchemist?
So I'm going to intertwine some things. And when I intertwine these things, I know some people are like, well, that's just fucking crazy. But this is the way my brain thinks. So, Las Vegas fan, Raiders fan. I'm a big Bo Jackson fan. Big Bo Jackson fan. Bo Jackson is the reason I'm a Raiders fan. All right, Arbin, I'm an Arbin fan. Then he goes to the Raiders. Bam, bam, bam. Read all his books, all this stuff. So I'm very engulfed in like what Bo Jackson is. Also from Mobile, you know what I mean, from the area. So I hold Bo Jackson in the highest regard. And when I say that, like I'm saying, like it's the fact that he was a multi-talented athlete that did it at the all-star level in both of those sports. And we don't have many of those. So when you attach his name to it, I'm expecting you to be the best, and you're gonna be multifaceted in whatever you're doing right there. If if you was the guy that was the street guy, I'm expecting when you throw Bo Jackson name in it, that means you about to dabble in all the other little spots up in there, and you about to hit it to this is the project that should have been it. This wasn't that. This Boldy James wasn't that. When I listened to it, it was still all like one tone. It was still all like one lane, and sometimes the naming concept can fuck you up. And that's how I felt like this right here. He named it, and I like when you somebody like, hey, pick up a book or you pick up a game, movie, whatever it is like you're doing, and it's like, oh man, this look fire, and then you play it and like, oh, this is the most boring shit ever. That's kind of how I felt about this. It wasn't boring shit ever, but I'm saying it didn't match what the album was saying, what the title was selling to me. So I know I done talked about a bunch of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with actual product or what he doing, but the product was about the same. It was about equivalent to what you usually get from him, but the naming concept and the marketing had me kind of fooled, and that kind of made me just like dial it back a little bit on my appreciation for his type of music on this one, and it kind of hurt his brand a little bit with me on that. So Boldy James gave you more of what he usually gives, but as far as if you was coming up in this like with the name saying you thinking you're gonna Bo Jackson, okay man, he's about to turn it up. Like this is about to be perfection on all levels and in everything that he stepped in. It wasn't that. So I would 2 out of 5.
Can't fault you in that. Prior to this,
the Freddie Gibbs currency one was woo.
Yeah. What did you like off of it?
That one. I didn't have no notes written down on that one.
It's cool. I'm talking. I like the Brick Mile to Montana featuring Benny the Butcher, Photographic Memories with Rock Marciano, the Diamond Dallas with Stove God Cooks. I'm not sure if you rock with Stove God Cooks, Prez, but you need to go back to his project that came out last year. That shit was really dope. And the fake Flowers with Currency, I like. And then the last 2 songs on the album, First 48 Freestyle and Drug Zone. Yeah,
it was First 48, Fake Flowers, the Brick Mile to Montana, and the Photographic Memories. Those was the ones that kind of like stood out to me. Everything else was
Yeah. I like Speed Trap a little bit because he switched it up for a slight minute.
The intro was low. Like it didn't have no
passion.
The intro, it didn't. Oh, man, I just knew
he's difficult. He's difficult to me to produce for. It just seems like, you know what I mean. Just based on how can I say it, man? I would just say his tone of voice, and he don't come up out of that at all. And sometimes some rappers, that's just them. You know what I mean? They have a certain tone and they not coming up out of that. And I get it. I could find value in this project, but the only 2 projects that I like from this guy, I'll be flat out, are produced by Alchemist. And that's the only reason I come along for the ride. Other than that, he spits a lot of boring drug raps. I don't care how true they are or nothing like that. That doesn't really impress me. It's just that he doesn't say nothing fly with it either. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's just not for me to get on. You know, he's not saying shit that's too technical for me to understand or nothing like that. It's nothing earth shattering. So when you don't have the bars and you just sound like one continuous monotone guy, like you don't even have the bars. Like if you're gonna be monotone, say some slick shit. Please, at least give me that. Give me that. But he's not giving me that. You know what I mean? So, and he's being saved entirely by production in this case. And, you know, Alchemist clearly rocks with him with this being the second project. I did like the price of tea in China prior to this. But the stuff in between, kind of like we was talking about with the Benny, was 3 straight joints that I ain't hear nobody talk about when he dropped. Nobody. Not hip-hop Twitter. Not people that like him that I know personally from Detroit. Like, it just, I don't know with this cat, man. Like, he's just not, he's not entertaining to me. You know what I mean? It is what it is with him. He's just not entertaining with me.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't want to talk too much on it, man. It didn't spend that much time in my catalog for me to keep spending like a lot more. But like, yeah, marketing fooled me on that. Like, if you're gonna come out with something like Bo Jackson, I know some people like, oh, LeBron James, all this. Like, you got to be like, as you talked to me about, like people that came out with Kobe and stuff like that. But I feel like those be good products, like a good. They try to achieve something. It don't seem like this was just a naming concept for him, and he didn't think how the marketing was going to come across. And marketing wise, it was like, oh, Bo Jackson, okay, this dude, hey, he really about to like step out and like try some stuff. Like when you say Bo Jackson, you talking about the best in 2 different sports, 2 different things, right? So if he's talking about the drug dealing, like I don't get that translated because everybody did that. You know what I mean? Drug dealing to rap, like, you know, you the best. Bro, no, that's not what I was expecting. When you put that on the album, I'm expecting you to actually like, hey, I have came here, I've arrived, like I'm the best at doing
elevate your artistry
street level, and I'm the best on doing it, and now I'm dabbing into this little bit more pop. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was trying to.
Yeah, just putting Alchemist beats to waste, man. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. Like I said, I stuck around for the production, which was top-notch once again, so hats off to Alchemist. But I'm not sure if this dude is going to change anything about his style. So, like you said, it's no need to shit on him. It's just that's the critique. That's how I feel about it. I understand everything he's saying, and I just don't like it. That's just is what it is, man. But sticking to the sports references and all that stuff. Did you have a chance to sit down and watch some Netflix or the recent interview that my guys Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson had with Jermaine O'Neal in terms of the new Netflix Untold story, Malice at the Palace?
No, but I'm looking. Is it out yet?
I believe it's on Netflix now. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm definitely gonna watch that. I've been waiting on
check
that
that
one.
out.
I just didn't check and see what was out. Like, it kind of slipped my mind. So
I'll give a quick.
I haven't been on
spiel.
Netflix in about 2-3 weeks, so that's kind of probably why I haven't seen it up front.
I'll give a quick spiel on it real quick. Less than a minute. So, I mean, it's the Untold story. Jermaine O'Neal went on Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson's podcast and kind of spoke to it for about an hour. But the actual documentary dropped, I believe, this week. And it was really good. It's only just over an hour. And it's really just giving you all the camera angles and how the players weren't protected and how it really affected their careers. And you never hear from Jermaine O'Neal, which was the best guy, was one of the team captains, was the best player at the time. Reggie Miller had been in year 18 at that point, and I believe he retired later on that year. So like they kind of go back and peel the layers behind what happened, in the whole Ron Artest and how he left and how that made them feel and how they really wasn't rocking with Ron for a lot of years. And then to go on to see Ron win, to see Steven Jackson win the championship. And at that time, if you're a big hoop fan, you know that the Pacers probably would have won the championship with that team because they were neck and neck with the Pistons, who beat your Lakers that one year in one of those championships. So it's a real somber look back on it in terms of just how they were. David Stern came down with like a super heavy hand trying to protect the brand, but in theory really didn't protect the players because they weren't protected at that arena. So good documentary. Highly encourage y'all to go check that out. So that's my quick spiel to get everybody to go watch that.
How long? Now you just got me thinking about something. How long you think before we get a black commissioner in any sport?
In any sport, man, like they keep these commissioners for a while, bro. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll be in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Because these guys keep that job for 20, 25 years. Look at how long David Stern was the commissioner. Roger Goodell is going on what year? He's in the teens at this point in terms of how long he's been handling NFL business, and he's been groomed. I think it starts from the grooming period. I'd have to look. I don't keep track of that to that level in terms of who's in the office, but I don't know if there's black execs on teams or in the front office there in the NFL and NBA that are being groomed to be the next commissioner. So I might not see. I don't think I'll see it.
I think that just makes stuff go down a little bit smoother if you had like I mean, if you like, we talking about David Stern and all the negativity that he had on the game and all these little restrictions that he pulled out. And I spoke when last time we was on here a while back, and I was just saying, like, now look at what players and coaches wear on the bench. Drives you insane that they was fighting it so much back then to get to this now. And it's like everybody's doing this. Like nobody wears the suits and the button down that they was trying to make do. Just seems like change comes.
They didn't get it.
Real slow.
People wasn't understanding.
If you had somebody up there that was a little bit more understanding to the situation, I think it can go as translating both ways. From player to owner and owner to player. You're kind of looking at the wrong face. I mean, if majority of your league is this way, then come on, man. It just makes sense to me. It's time.
And then he had too much power.
Yeah.
Him and Goodell, like as commissioners, they judge, jury, and execution. Like stuff that would have been a misdemeanor in terms of Malice in the Palace, and how, in all actuality, it was started by the cup being thrown. They were actually Pistons fans against 15 players in Indiana staff. When you think about it, you know what I'm saying? And, you had guys coming down to the court that tried to swing on Ron Artest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these guys are trying to protect themselves and each other, and they were just treated like some thugs. You hear that thrown out continuously, and the media went and ran with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just supposed to act the calmest under being disrespected on that level, and nobody, no cops, nobody was in the stands to even protect them from that, or get in that fan's ass as soon as they did it and kick their ass out. You know what I mean? So
look at it. If they had handled the situation correctly back then, we wouldn't be in the same situation that we approached this last year during the playoffs, with fans, still throwing out slurs, still throwing out racial slurs I'm talking about, throwing things, and like having the incidents that you have to this year, where they finally about to get a grasp on all this stuff and say, like, hey, you know what, you're going to be banned, and we're going to allow the players to press charges. That shit should have been done 20 years ago.
Yeah,
like you threw something at him, your ass need to go to jail, not the player.
Right.
We're not going to suspend him. You initiated. He's an athlete. You a dumbass for throwing something on somebody who's like the apex of the apex of all males, within the world. So you either take the ass whooping and move on and let it be done, or hey, you can take this shit to court and he can hem you up that way too.
Good, I feel you. All right, man. So that's a wrap. That's episode 121. We will holler at you next week. Watch out for like the random drops on the album reviews where we give you the condensed versions. And with that said, I'm Kash, aka Exec P. And with me always,
Mr. Prez. And we out.